Hey guys, what's up? One of the most requested videos I have got is to do a final table that I won in Scoop. It's the 5k high roller with loads of regs and just something we're going to really be able to get deep into and speak about so many hands. It's deep stack, so it's not just like simple ICM like shove, reshove, open jam, open fold, all that kind of stuff. It's more see some flops, see some turns, see some rivers. It's PSGO. It's really interesting, like three-handed, four-handed, five-handed. There's loads of interesting stuff going on. There's some huge hands happen. So yeah, typically I think it's going to be a pretty good final table to go over. But yeah, let's have a look at who is on the final table. Let's start from top to bottom. So hello Totti with a big stack. I imagine he's going to play very, very loose. I would say too loose in terms of GTO, but maybe correct from an exploitative point of view. Dario Sammartino is very tight. Tino de Mulder is very tight on final tables. I am probably perceived to be very tight. Camel is very tight. So a good lineup for him to raise wide into, I would say. Maratha is another player who's going to play very loose. I would say too loose. But you know, he plays his way. We'll play our way, or I'll play my way. 464 is a good friend of mine. Very, very good, high stakes, accomplished cash game player. Probably his first ever PSKO final table, I would imagine. Won't have too much experience playing final tables at this point. But you know, a very smart player, being involved with BitB, would have seen stuff and seen screenshots of simple preflop and just be able to make good decisions because he's very smart. Girafganger, another guy who is actually quite tight, I would say. With a big stack, we can expect him to maybe get busy a little bit. Typically Giraffe, I would say, like very tight with the odd big, like not blow up or punt, but just like big aggressive player like now and again. Jareth, you know, we'll go with his gut, let's say. Jareth, an old school tight guy who plays a little bit looser now, I would say. It's PSGO, obviously we're guaranteed 13 plus 3 or 4k. So we're guaranteed about 15, 16k, 17k. First place is going to be around about 250k because of the bounties. So I'm just going to jump straight in. We're going to try to go through it all. Let's see how long it takes us. Probably going to do 2 or 3 parts, I would imagine. All right, so blind versus blind here. Ace King, definitely a hand which we want to go for a raise, I think. Limping and then Raisin, I don't think it's going to be that good when we're going to face a polarized Raisin range. So we can imagine Giraffe's going to check back a lot of King Queens, King Jacks, you know, some middling Ace X hands. So even some pocket pairs like 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, even potentially 8s, but probably not 8s. They could all check back too. So it's not like a spot where he's raising linear. He's going to raise more polar when we limp off around 35 big blinds. So for that reason, I think limp raising ace king isn't going to be the best play, and it's going to be better to have a raising range ourselves. Typically in ICM, playing from the small blind, I'm actually making a video on this too, so you'll see this video. It's called playing the small blind as a shorter stack in ICM. Typically in this situation, there is spots where we want to play very tight and aggressive. So when one of the reasons why you limp blind versus blind is because you want to expand your range and play a wide range. Typically in this spot, we don't want to play a wide range. We want to play a relatively tight range. Therefore, a lot of our range is interested in going for RFI. We can also limp call a lot tighter than we can do in Chippy V. So some hands which we would normally limp call, let's say a hand like Queen 8 or Queen 9, maybe we want to go for a raise fold with those hands rather than a limp call. Same as a hand like Jack 10, very easy limp call normally. Not too thrilled about limp call in ICM. Obviously, I'm just spouting out random hands here, but typically that's the way we look at it. So I hope to see Daryl raise here. Again, Daryl comes more from a cash game background, so you know, it's not going to be bad to limp, but let's just see what happens. Okay, goes for a raise. I think it's perfect. Easy fold for Giraffe in a big blind. Totti's going to open. I have King Queen suited. I think it's a very interesting spot for me. I think I should probably flat call. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it's good. It's funny because I think at this point people probably see me as playing like like GTO final table strategy, like calling too much and that kind of stuff. But I think I have pretty good reasons to do such stuff. But King Queen suited would always be a flat call for me here anyway. I think if I free bet King Queen, I never fold out something dominating me. So Ace King never folds, Ace Queen never folds. So not too much reason to, and also he probably doesn't call like Queen Jack or Queen 10 suited or King 10 suited. So it's I can't free bet for value and I can't free bet as a bluff. So I think just calling makes sense. Daryl, good fold with Ace 10. Giraffe, sevens. Yeah, you definitely want to have a calling range here, and sevens is one of the hands which is right in the middle of that, so it looks good. Kings here, I think shoving is pretty good actually. I think if he squeezes non all in, I will hopefully be able to get away from hands like, nines, eights, tens, ace queen, stuff like that. But if he shoves, maybe I'll flick in something like tens or something along those lines. Same with Giraffe, like ace queen suited, pocket tens. If he squeezes non all in, he can maybe get away from those hands sometimes. But versus a shove, he might gamble, especially with a relatively large bounty as well. And just not spot typically with his stack size. He would take too wide as a bluff, I think. So I think just playing shove and call is probably good here from Jareth, I think. People are obviously quite greedy typically though, so let's see. Very good. I like it. I hope I fold. I'm pretty sure it will fold. Yep. Gets folds. Seems good. Ace Jack obviously opening. Sevens definitely just want to call here, I think. Shoving. Well, yeah. Yeah, especially when he opens into Totti, who covers him and can, apply some pressure, even though they're very deep. I still think sevens is going to work out well as a call here. When you shove and get called, he never calls with sixes. So I think calling versus the raise is probably good with sevens here. He goes for a free bet non all in. Well, basically all in, committing. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's going to work out just fine. It's also kind of nice to have some hands in your range here where you call and then Totti's going to squeeze and you can back raise shove. I think sevens works out like okay with them. Like Totti may choose some hands like king 4, ace 4, like one high card, one low card kind of hands, unblocking a lot of your call folds like 8 9 suited, 10 9 suited, queen jack offsuit or whatever. So like ace x offsuit with a low card might be quite good. So seven seems like it's a decent hand to induce a large squeeze from Totti and then be able to back raise shove over the top of it. Yeah, because like you probably want to free bet shove yourself already with like king jack suited, ace 5 suited, stuff like that. So sevens calling and then back raise jamming looks quite good. I fold queen 10, seems fine. Ace 3 should just raise the button. Looks good. Should get 2 folds. So Jack 9 here definitely going to be, in GTO too loose of a free bet. Maybe he thinks Jareth is opening too wide and not 4-bet jamming enough. Or maybe he wants... A lot of people in PSKOs in high stakes, they try to free bet as the big stack, looking like they're free bet calling wide, so people don't 4-bet bluff shove. I actually think it's a really good spot to 4-bet bluff shove quite a lot, because even though he has a bounty and Totti covers him, it's still going to put Totti as like the short stack or one of the short stacks if he gets in and loses. And obviously, it's a scoop title, big final table, blah blah blah. I don't think he's going to just free bet call here like sixes or like ace 10 off or anything like that. I think he's way more likely to be going the other way and bluffing. It's obviously easy to say that when I can see Jack 9 off, but that's what I suspect anyway. I would fold ace 3 here, but if you can find a 4-bet shove, that would be nice. No. Ace 10 should just open shove, I think. Actually, raise fold is okay. Raise fold is okay from this stack size. But open shove is open shoving is also probably fine as the short stack. I think both options is fine. If people start free bet calling like queen jack suited or something behind, or like ace 8 suited or something, and you start folding a hand like ace 10, starts to get very dicey for you. Maybe they free bet call, like fours or something crazy. Like people are free betting jack 9 off, right? So it's not that unrealistic for someone to free bet call ace 8 suited, or queen jack suited or something, or jack 10 suited, whatever it may be. So when it's like that, you need to be careful you don't just like start raise folding against a hand which you have like absolutely crushed. And on these aggressive, crazy final tables, you can't be too sure what people are up to. And if you think open shoving is just making money, then probably just going for the open shove is good here, I think. Ace King, same stories before. Definitely want to raise, and yeah, that looks pretty good. Not sure you need to go so big, but yeah. Jack 9, easy raise. 7-6 suited. Typically not a hand you'd necessarily call too much. With a reshove stack behind. If you're calling as wide as like 5-6 suited, 6-7 suited, etc., Tino would be able to reshove really wide on you, but Tino has a big bounty, so he's going to be hesitant to do that. Dario's going to play very, very tight on the button. He's not the type of guy to be squeezing here. And my image and the way that I play, I'm probably not going to go after this spot either. So flat calling here wider and expanding your calling range when covering somebody deep stacked, I think is a pretty good play. King free, I hope I... Okay. Think about king free suited. Let's have a think. I mean, it's a kind of hand which, when we do flop top pair, we're not too thrilled. Two players who will play really aggressive after the flop, put us into some tough spots. It's probably a hand which makes very close to zero money either way. As a guy who has 1, 2, 3, 4 stacks who are shorter than him, I think playing ICM conscious here is pretty good. And also another factor is that 2 of the big stacks are very capable of just like blasting off, 80 big blinds, which in terms of ICM makes me want to play tighter. So if I'm thinking about my overall strategy here, I think I want to play like pretty tight, even though it's PSKO. And especially when I don't cover people. If it was like, Jareth opens and Tino calls or something, then obviously calling covering 2 guys is a little bit different. But being the guy who is covered by both guys, I think folding is actually pretty okay. Flop here, playing very passive for Maratha makes sense. Totti starts with a bet. Probably the kind of board where you're going to bet a few times if you start betting. There's going to be lots of ace queens and ace kings, etc. The first hands which fold on the flop are 6s, 7s, 8s, maybe. It's like 6s and 7s are the first hands which folds on the flop. People probably continue ace 5 ahead of 6s and 7s because, they can improve to some 2 pairs or trips or whatever like this. But 6s and 7s, I think, are just going to be check folds. So betting ones with 6-7 suited doesn't seem too great. If you do bet the flop, I think you need to blast off against a 10 or ace queen or ace king, etc. So yeah. Your hand's actually got decent combos to continue bluffing. You block 7-5 suited and 6-5 suited, which is very crucial here. So I think going for a double barrel is not bad here. Like hand like king 10, ace 10, 10 9, pocket 9s, pocket 8s, ace queen, ace king. These hands can fold out of the turn or river. So I think continuing betting is good. Betting ones and giving up, especially when you block like some turned nuts, I don't think is going to be the best play necessarily. Maratha checks the river, which seems a little bit too tight to me. I would go for a bet. I think that he should never have Queen Jack played this way. And there is a bunch of draws which did miss. Like there's the 8-9s, king queens, king 9s, queen 8, queen 9s, which may have went for a check call on the flop. It's not that unrealistic to do so. So I would probably just go for a 1/3 bet on the river. Totti's range is also very capped when he checks back the turn. So because of that, I feel like we do want to attack. Like this may be a spot where you don't bet your entire range, but you're incentivized to bet a lot of hands here versus Totti, because Totti's probably not starting to bet the flop with a 10. He's probably not checking a turn with a hand like Queen Jack or like a Jack in general. So his range should be relatively weak getting to the river. So betting very frequently against a weak range typically is a good play. And probably having 2 sizings is fine too. Totti give up the river. Again, like just betting the flop and then showing down, I don't think is a good play when you block 6s and 7s there. But I don't know. Ace 10 raises, should get it through. 9-6 is too weak to defend, even in a PSKO. 10-9 should raise. I think Tino has a flat call here for sure. I feel like you definitely want to have a flat call in range. You have 23 big blinds, and aces you don't want to shove. And you probably don't have too much of a free bet fold range off 23 big blinds with a 16k bounty, because you just start giving people a really good price to 4-bet shove. So typically I would probably play flat and shove as my strategy here. And I think aces flatten makes sense, especially with, a guy with 11 big blinds who can shove, maybe get a reshove through from somebody, or maybe Maratha squeezes in the big blind and commits, who knows. So I would go for a flat call here with aces. He shoves. typically I think free bet shove and aces is never going to be a great play for 23 big blinds. Um, yeah, I just don't see shoving being the best play here. I do see that free betting is not a play here, or like maybe isn't a play. So I think it's I think it's good that Tino has maybe recognized that he wants to play shove and call, but I feel like aces wants to go into the calling range if I was guessing. And I'm assuming 10-9 just folds, even with the huge bounty. Yeah. 7-5 suited open is again loose, but when you cover a lot of people, it's fine. You know, this guy's not reshoving a suited ace because he thinks he has no fold equity because of the bounty, which is reasonable. But if someone is opening as wide as this, you probably do have fold equity. King 8 in the big blind is quite close. Again, he has a stack size where, you know, ICM conscious, ICM conscious, ICM conscious, ICM conscious. You know, some people are blasting it off, etc. So I feel like King 8's a very close hand here. I feel like free betting could also be an option with King 8 offsuit. I think folding is an option. I think calling is an option. I think shoving is not an option. So whatever you do here is going to be worth around about the same, I think. I think it's a pretty smart fold, to be honest. So King's definitely free betting here with the image, the aggressive image, etc. Ace Jack suited here, very tough spot, but I think with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players to act after you, you know, they're just going to be able to defend between themselves that you don't have to defend Ace Jack suited. And also the open should already be pretty tight, and it should be tight because, you know, he's opening off this stack size where there's people who can burst aggressive guys around, not a hugely tight guy in the big blind, etc. So yeah, you can imagine this is relatively tight to start with, so you definitely don't need to defend ace jack suited for the table here. It's going to fold around to eights and it has a really tough spot. I think call in is pretty good. And then like getting it in on some low boards, maybe calling like a 20%, 30% bet on a lot of flops, and then trying to just show down. So I think shoving doesn't make too much sense. When you get called, he always has jacks plus. He never has sevens. So yeah, I think you get it in very bad when you full bet shove. You'd rather shove like ace four suited here than pocket eights, because I don't think Totti's free bet calling like ace queen in these positions. He's most likely just calling or free bet folding. So I think eights should just go for a call here, and shove would be the punt. I don't remember any of their hands, by the way. It's weird, but it was quite a while ago now. So I actually quite like it this way, where I don't know what they did, but I think calling's the only option here anyway. Fold. All fold, it's okay. I mean, I think it's a very good fold. I think it's an impressive fold as well. You know, eights is not even a hand high up in your range, really. Like, you're not opening sevens, probably. You're definitely not opening sixes. So it's like your worst pair you're opening. It doesn't have great playability. Yeah, that's a really fine fold. I thought he'd either shove or call. But yeah, folding's really good. I like that. It's a well played hand. King 7 open. I would free bet call as Tino. Basically, in these positions, you definitely don't want to play like shove only. Totti's opening a really wide range himself. So because Totti's opening a wide range himself, and you have so many players to act after you, you don't want to play you don't want to play that many shoves. I think you want to play mostly like calls and free bet calls and free bet folds. And you can also use a small size, and like Totti's opening 7-5 suited. He's going to be opening King 10 off, Jack 10 off, all these kind of hands. So you can make Totti's range very tough to play by going like 310k or something like this, and being able to get away from people behind. So you also give him the option to 4-bet shove on you with a hand like, you know, ace 7 suited, you know, king 9 suited, who knows. So I'd go for a free bet for sure with queens. I definitely wouldn't shove. Colin here seems very bizarre to me. We have a 15.8k bounty, like a massive bounty. We're playing against a guy who really loves to fight back against aggression. There's people not going to be squeezing behind. Like, it looks tight that you already called. It looks suspicious that you called, but your hand's not strong enough, in my opinion, to trap here. Like, trap aces, sure, but queens, I think we have to be more than happy to get it in here against the guy who's opening, you know, 7-5 suited. It's not like it's the first time anyone's seen Totti at the final table. He's a very, very loose player. So I would go for the free bet call with queens here for sure. I would check range now, probably as Totti. It's close, I think. Yeah, I think it's probably close. I think it's probably close, whatever you do. I guess it sandwiches Tino's like middle in range, which is quite nice because he has this guy to act after him. So when Tino does have nines, eights, sevens, tens, he's in a really tough spot, I guess, with those kind of hands. Like King Queen suited, King Jack suited, those hands are in a tough spot. So yeah, I actually think the C bet seems pretty okay. It's quite ugly for Tino. Yeah, I think the fact you have a Queen of Hearts, your Queen is live. Like when you hit a set, it's live. You block some Ace X, which could value bet like Ace Queen. Like Tino's, Totti's probably value betting like Ace Queen, Ace King on the flop, I would imagine. So because of that, having queens is quite good. But you do have a guy to act after you. But this guy should never reopen the action, I don't think. So I think call and flop is okay. You're going to see some C bets from like Jack 10 of spades that doesn't want to check call, like Jack 9 of spades with the backdoor straight draw that doesn't want to check call. So I do think calling with queens is probably the best play here. 8 goes for the call. King 7 here probably wants to do a lot of checking. You're not going to make an ace fold. You block some hands like, maybe King Queen of Hearts or like King of Hearts Queen of if he ever calls that behind, or pocket sevens with a heart like he has eights. So your hand's not too great. You don't block any ace X really, because Ace King's gonna free bet pre-flop. So you block like one combo of ace seven suited. So yeah, I would go for a check probably. And just expect also uh yeah, you can also expect Maratha just not to bet very often, so you're going to realize your equity quite well anyway. Maratha's going to check the turn with like ace 10 and stuff like that. You can even check call actually, probably. He's going to bet his draws like 7 8 and 8 9 and stuff like that. And he's probably going to check a lot of ace 10, ace 9, ace 4, ace 3, ace 2. So I think actually check call on the turn seems reasonable with how the ranges look like they are. Ace Jack's going to open, King 9 definitely defending. Free betting would be strange, yeah. Half pots, I think, would be good here. But small's fine too. But yeah, around about half pot, I think is okay. You definitely have some hands which want to size up, maybe like jacks, queens, ace 10, king 10. You may not want to size this up as much as you would do in, say, Chippy V, but you're also very deep as well. It's not like it's some ICM thing where you're going to have to put in 100 big blinds. And because you're both deep, I think in these spots, people don't check raise very aggressively versus large bets. So it's not like you end up playing that big pot that you really want to avoid anyway. And it's also a board where you may want to have some checks as well. And even checking the hand like ace jack here doesn't feel too unreasonable. I think when you do go small, you invite aggression from like flush draws, 6 7, 7 8, Jack 9 of hearts, like King of hearts, King of clubs, 6, whatever, stuff like that. So ace 2, ace 3, etc. So especially because people know that like people do size up as well in some spots. So I would be very careful c betting this hand for a small sizing. Interesting turn for Totti. I think you want to check when. I think if it was a 6, it's a very good turn card to lead. I think when it's a 3 and all the ace X have a gut shot, it's less attractive to lead. Yeah, like if he's calling ace jack up pure in a turn, then and like pretty much snap called. I don't think the turn bet will be too great with king 9 because a lot of the air that missed on the flop will be ace X heavy. You even block some stuff like like king queen or king jack offsuit, which will be like the first folds. The first folds are like queen jack, king queen. So like having a king's not great for you. Like sixes is not folding, sevens is not folding, the tens not folding, no ace X is folding, no flush draws are folding. So I wouldn't go for the lead on turn. Bets the river, blocking the clubs but unblocking ace X, which seems okay. Blocking nines maybe isn't too great for us either. But you're always going to be blocking something, so yeah, I guess the best hand to bluff would maybe be something like 7 8. Like 7 8 is like a gut shot here on the flop that doesn't block any ace X, doesn't block clubs or hearts. Like 7 8 of diamonds would be like a pretty pure line here, I think. King King 7 opening, King Queen could free bet fold here to like, yeah, this kind of sizing looks good. Nines just folding, definitely not the hand you want to be committing with here. Yeah, very nice. Ace queen raising, pocket fives calling, ace four suited should be folding in the small blind here. And ace eight could squeeze potentially, because like we can imagine that Totti is probably calling here with like 6-5 suited, 6-7 suited, trying to go after the bounty as a big stack. So squeezing here is not that bad of a play. Shoving is probably not that bad of a play, but 4-6-4 is probably going to be opening a little bit too tight for you to shove. It's kind of a sucky spot where calling's definitely not going to be great. Folding obviously is never great. Yeah, basically all the options are not too great here. So I think whenever that's the case, folding is fine. Yeah, I think that's smart. Uh, Bad flop 4-6-4. I don't remember this hand, so I'm not sure he busts, but he goes for a C bet and a flop for a small size, and quite nice. It gets like some ace X. Well, kind of interesting. You probably don't get too much fold equity because the ace X backdoor flush draws all call. Like ace four of hearts is going to call, I think. He's going to call with the king jacks, the king queens, the king tens, the 7-8s, the 6-7s, the 5-6s. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting spot. Totti obviously, well, Totti going for a raise, which looks extremely strong, obviously. It's hard to have a bluff raise here, because are you raise folding Jack 10? Are you raise folding King Jack? Are you really raising Ace 5? Ace 5 is quite nice to call. When an ace comes, you can cooler like an ace, or like he can bluff into your ace with his, King Jack or Jack 10, whatever it may be. So, kind of a spot where maybe Totti just thinks that Daryl is really strong for c-bet in this kind of texture where you can expect very little fold equity. So it's likely he doesn't have a hand like ace 3 or ace 2, and it's more likely he has like, kings, aces, king, queen. He unblocks all of that kind of stuff. So he probably doesn't have a 9 with this size, and so you don't have much need to let him improve to say 2 pair. Sometimes you really want people to improve to 2 pair, like let's say ace 9 or jack 9 or 9-8 or 9-7. But in this spot, 9x is most likely checking, I guess. So because of that, the raise might be like a really, really nice raise here. Um, Tough spot for Daryl. Like when you shove, you don't really achieve too much. But if you ever assume he maybe raise call and say king queen, or maybe like jack 10 suited, like just going for it, trying to make you fold some hand like ace king or ace jack, and having enough equity to stack off against the bounty, then probably just gonna go with ace queen. It's a tough spot really because it looks very bladed, but I think that shove is probably the play with ace queen. Yeah, I like it, and I think it's just unlucky, to be honest, against Totti. Ace 10 raisin. I think giraffe free betting here is good. You're basically essentially like free betting for value. He's gonna call king queen. He's gonna call king jack suited. He's gonna call ace jack suited, ace 10 suited. So you can do really well against his continuing range. He's probably not gonna slow play, so when he four bets, you have a really easy fold. So yeah, I think it's a really nice free bet. Ace king, obviously you're gonna just four bet, and try to get a continue out of say ace jack suited or ace queen suited, etc. Maybe a punt now and again from ace 5. Yeah, I think this is a really nice four bet and gets it through. Very good fold from Giraffe here. Shows that he's very patient and shows that he's not a punter, I think. Ace 10 raises. I wouldn't mind calling with 10-9 suited here. I feel like this guy is very tight, and he has a bounty. So calling, he's not going to squeeze shove behind. And Jareth, it's not that bad of a spot for Jareth to raise. I'm in the small blinds out of the way. He covers the button. Obviously, this guy has the bounty, etc. The one bad thing is Totti, obviously, but Dario's tight. Totti's played so many hands so far, so may not go after him again. So it's not that bad of a spot to raise relatively wide here. So I'm intrigued to see what I do here with 10-9 suited. Okay, I think fold is fine too. If Jareth does expand his raising range, I was just thinking to, ace 10, king 10, queen 10s, that kind of stuff. I don't do that great against it. I think Poland would be okay-ish. But yeah, I think whatever basically in PSGO. I know, like, it's definitely not a call in terms of GTO. We'll definitely want to fold, I think, there. But I think in terms of, like, exploit, it's probably good to call. Or fine to call, let's say. I folded a king on the button, which seems pretty good. 10 free, limps from Maratha, 9-2 checks. Half pot bet. Definitely going for a double barrel of 9 free here. 10-3 probably isn't going to fold. And that's a very bad river for Giraffe. Doesn't make... He leads river. It's weird to lead, really. I know he has more 7x, of course. He has more one heart hands, probably. But yeah, it's kind of a strange one. Like, it doesn't put too much like, what are you bluffing with? Like, what's our bluffs here? Like, just ace king high with no heart, ace queen high, no heart, ace 4 high, no heart, ace 5 high, no heart. Maybe are we always check calling the flop with like ace 5 of diamonds? Too sure. And then always calling the turn versus a relatively big double barrel. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think checking and hoping he just blasts off like 5-6 offsuit with no heart is pretty good. So yeah, I would go for a check here. I would go for a check on the river, but I could be wrong. It's kind of a delicate spot. Intuitively, it makes sense for me to check. Queen 10, I fold, which seems pretty good. These two guys will VPip wide against me. This guy isn't like playing that loose, like it's not that much EV of me raising to call off this guy. If I do end up getting it in against him, I'm not even gonna have like that much equity anyway. So I think folding seems pretty good. Ace Jack obviously shoving here, and seven's obviously calling. He doubles up, which is so in these kind of situations, it is good to me that he gets chips, but he's now going to be a short stack, but with like quite a lot of big blinds, and he's going to play really tight. So now ICM kind of goes less out the window for me because essentially, if he had 5 big blinds, I can wait for him to bust. But when he has 20, he's going to play so tight. I don't want to just wait to get like 6k more when first place is 250k. I have no bounties. I need to start getting bounties, etc. So I'm definitely not going to just let these guys just like blind out and try to ladder to get 40k. My intention in this tournament is to finish, top 2. So it's important for me to adjust my strategy based on that. King 10 checking the flop. I would have probably just went with a bet on the flop. You can make ace X fold. You can make, king X fold. You can maybe make a 5 fold with a bigger size. You have a good hand for double barrel and triple barrel, and you're going to turn a lot of draws. You have an overcard. Your 10's an overcard to the 2 middling cards. So I would probably just start with a bet on the flop, I think. You can make like 2s, 3s, 4s fold. Totty with this bet on the turn with the small pair. Ace Jack raising, and probably make it. Yeah, Ace 3 could fold here. Okay, decides to call. It's fine. Small sizing on Queen 7-2. The deuce is a dangler. Dario's not going to be calling the flop with many deuce X hands. Pre-flop with many deuce X hands. So imagine the board was just like Queen 7 and then no third card. The big blind just doesn't hit that very often at all, right? So we just imagine his deuce is like a blank, and then Dario has his whole range. He's not going to connect very often with like Queen 7 with no third card. You kind of need the third card for that connectivity, and the deuce almost acts as like a dead card in these kind of situations, I think. So because of that, I think you want to use a very small sizing because you have a very efficient bet on the flop because he is just not going to be able to defend enough of his range versus that sizing. Whereas a board like Queen 7-8 or Queen 7-9, you could start using a bigger sizing because it's more connected. Maybe you can fold a 7 on the flop versus a bigger sizing because a lot of your bluffs have either 2 overs, straight draws, etc. He's dead against a lot of your value. You make him fold some more ace highs, whatever it may be. But on this board, I would definitely go for a smaller sizing. 10-8 fold, ace-9 raisin. Puts in half his stack, seems okay from the cutoff. King Jack's definitely going to raise, and it's going to hopefully fold all the way around. I don't want to defend here. So I've not played a single hand yet, guys, I don't think. 8-6, I think I should raise. Yeah, I think this is really good against a tight guy, even though my blockers are not too good. Just being able to put pressure on him and realize it's going to be a profitable open with any 2 cards, I think is really good. I hope I fold. Yeah. King 9 should just shove for 16 big blinds. You get called by worse, maybe. You're going to get ISO'd. It's going to get dicey. So yeah, I'd probably just go for the open shove for 16 big blinds, to be honest. King 9 goes for the limp fold. Which definitely gonna be too tight. I mean, he had ace queen this time, but he could just have like 7 deuce offsuit. You can't limp fold King 9 for 16 big blinds. If you think he's gonna ISO you like super wide, you could go for a limp shove and it could be higher EV. If you think he's never folding King 10 versus your shove anyway, and not calling King 8, then it makes some sense to limp shove, but limp folding just can't be the play, in my opinion. I'd like to see a raise here from Jack 8. Yeah, I think this is a good raise. He's been playing tight. Giraffe is pretty tight, and Maratha is in the small blind, so a little bit out the way. Should give my raise some respect. But they both call, and I'm thinking, should have went back to fold-in. I'd like to see a c-bet on the flop here with a backdoor flush draw for a small sizing. Yeah, I think that's nice. Giraffe folding Queen 9 of clubs. Seems fine free-handed, to be honest. Like, my bluff's gonna dominate him, like Queen Jack, Queen 10, stuff like that. But even though I have Jack 8 this time, I think it's a good fold.